Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and I'm here today with the next installment of this sort of series we do on my channel, the 5 Tips series. I'm going to give you 5 tips today on how to be better as a Havoc Demon Hunter. These are more Mythic Plus leaning because honestly, I don't think the raid rotation is that complex. There are some stuff you can apply to raid as well, but this is mostly for Mythic Plus. So with that, I don't know, like, comment, subscribe, help grow the channel, and let's get on to it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here, the very first tip, is going to be holding on to Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame for your burst windows. And this is something I see, especially a lot of new players or players who just picked up Havoc, they haven't been following my videos a ton. I see them do it a lot, and there's a reason why you want to do this. Now, the reason is because of Inertia and because of Student of Suffering. Now, it's a little bit different with a Fire Inside when you're playing an AoE build. We'll touch on that in a second. But when you're playing the single target Essence Break build, you always want to save Inertia and save Sigil of Flame. The reason for that, Inertia comes from Immolation Aura, which is Unbound Chaos. This increases your damage done by 18% for 5 seconds. Very short window, very large damage buff. Sigil of Flame gives you a 21% mastery buff as well as some fury for 8 seconds. Again, another very short window. So the reason we want to save that is because Havoc's damage all comes in very short windows, and we want to overlap these buffs to it. We look here, we're at our sim here, and you see our damage is very peaks and valleys, right? DPS shoots up down here during our cooldowns, drops off pretty low outside of them, shoots up during cooldowns, drops off pretty low outside of them, and so on and so forth. The reason why you're saving Sigil of Flame and Immolation Aura is to buff up these peaks and not really these valleys. By buffing the valleys, you're not really doing much, but buffing the peaks means a lot more damage. Now, there is a little bit of an exception to this, and that is with Immolation Aura. Because Unbound Chaos has a timer to it, and because it's hasted, in Lust, you can send your second one, no worries. Outside of Lust, if you need Fury and you see that Eyebeam and stuff's coming up soon, you can actually hold this for up to 12 seconds because Unbound Chaos lasts that long. So you can use this roughly 8 seconds ahead of time just to get a little bit of Fury going. So we have this and we're just sitting here. We can use it 8 seconds ahead of time. Generally, that's the safest thing. So we're getting time there where we're going to use it or lose it. So we use it, boom, and we have our buff for our Essence Break window. Now in AoE, if you're playing a Fire Inside, you can just hold 1 charge of Immolation Aura for your window, otherwise send the rest, and you want to hold Sigil of Flame no matter what. So single target and AoE, make sure you're always holding at least 1 charge of Immolation Aura and 1 Sigil of Flame for your Essence Break combo, as that's when you do all of your damage. So my next tip is going to be pretty similar in line with the first one, and that's going to be what you're buffing with Inertia. Now again, I talked about Inertia being one of those cooldowns that we have that increases our damage 18% for 5 seconds. Again, very powerful, but not a ton of uptime on that, so you can only get so many abilities into it. Now our Essence Break combo is pretty bread and butter. It involves going to Eyebeam, using Essence Break, and then using your empowered abilities to both get a ton of damage due to Essence Break, as well as a ton of Demon Surge damage because of Fellscarred. Now, the way you want to Fel Rush and use the Inertia is going to be different depending on a few scenarios. So what you want to do, and there's 2 orders to this. The one order is going to be Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Vengeful Retreat, Eyebeam, Fel Rush, Essence Break, Death Sweep, Annihilation. Or the other one is Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Fel Rush, Eyebeam, Vengeful Retreat, Essence Break, Death Sweep, Annihilation. Those are going to be your 2 variations. Now the first one, which is going to be this one as follows: Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Vengeful Retreat, Eyebeam, Fel Rush back in, Essence Break, Death Sweep, Annihilation is going to be done anytime you're in single target, right? Basically, when you're fighting 2 or 1 targets, that's what you want to do. Honestly, even on 2 targets, it's about the same as the other one, and you don't have Lust. So no Lust, 1 target, you want to be doing that one. Now, if you have Lust and if you have Meta, you want to swap the places of Immolation Aura and Vengeful Retreat. This is also true if you're fighting multiple targets. So 2+ targets, 3+ targets, somewhere in that range. Or Lust, you want to buff your Eyebeam first. Now the reason I say Lust is because of meta with Abyssal Gaze, which you can touch on. But in AoE, it will be Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, Fel Rush, Eyebeam, Backflip, Essence Break, Death Sweep, Annihilation, and try and hit with your Essence Breaks. It's kind of tough when you do VR, but just do your best. With meta, if you're in Lust, then you want to do that whole thing at the end there and use your Immolation Aura to buff the Abyssal Gaze Eyebeam because it does so much damage. And if you're in Lust, you can still buff your Essence Break, which you use now. That would come after. So there you go. If you're in Lust with meta or you're fighting multiple targets, then use Inertia on Eyebeam. Otherwise, use Inertia on Essence Break. All right, so obviously the next thing is going to be actually hitting your Essence Breaks. And I'm mentioning this because we always use Essence Break after a movement ability, either Vengeful Retreat or Fel Rush. Now with Fel Rush, it's fairly easy. The only tip I'd really say is make sure you're using your mouse to move. So if I hold the right click on my mouse here, so this is right because we're mirrored, it allows me to move my camera, right? My character, sorry. What this does is allows me to move very easily when I Fel Rush. So if I'm, moving around really easily and I Fel Rush, I can go that way, go this way. Same thing too. So if we have our Fel Rush and we're Fel Rush by our target, you can use your mouse to quickly turn an Essence Break. So targets here, Fel Rush, quickly turn an Essence Break. That's it. That's it for single target. It's very easy. Now, when you're using it with Vengeful Retreat, it's a little bit harder, so let's jump to that. So for Vengeful Retreat, it's going to be a little bit harder, and that's actually because of a bug in the game. So there's a thing with cone abilities where they don't actually go in front of your character, they go where your camera's facing. So if you're aiming down a bit, it can really mess up how your aiming is doing. So if we Vengeful Retreat over this pack, like how you're supposed to, so for anyone who's not sure, you always want to make sure you're Vengeful Retreating either through your target or side to side. That is the best way. You want to make sure you keep uptime. But if we use Vengeful Retreat and let's say we're like here, right? We're midway over the pack. We use our Essence Break. We might miss. So one trick that I always find is useful with Vengeful Retreat is, again, we're going to use our right click button here. We'll make sure we're turning our camera. And honestly, like once you land or when you're about to land is a really good time to use Essence Break. So if I backflip here, we're almost landed, boom, Essence Break, I hit every single target. Very, very easy. Doesn't really even change anything. Vengeful Retreat does have a half-second GCD, but hitting all your targets with Essence Break is going to be so important. So very easy thing there. I would just wait until you're almost about to land. So if this is my arc, we're starting over here, I would always wait till about now and send it off there, right? Now, again, it's a cone, so make sure you're hitting things in a cone. But as long as you're waiting a little bit towards the end, you're almost landing, you're making sure you're not aiming yourself down to the ground, you should be able to hit it pretty often. The next thing I want to talk about is Treacherous Transmitter. Now, Treacherous Transmitter is one of our best trinkets. It's actually really good. I did a whole video on this if you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive to it. I want to talk about when you use it and how you're using it. So Treacherous Transmitter is a trinket. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown that gives you a ton of agility if you do a thing. So there's a weak aura that tells you what you have to do. But basically, you have to jump 3 times, or you have to collect an orb, or you have to stand on a little pad for 4 ticks, basically. And the spawning things always spawn right here relative to your character. So if I turn my character, and we'll go off a little Ursoc here, they'll spawn, and I use it. It should be right near where a little Ursoc is. Yeah, basically right there. Stand on it, we'll get our buff. It'll always spawn there, though. So if we use this guy as kind of our like orientation, it'll always spawn in roughly where that is based on where my character's facing. So if I turn this way and I use it, obviously it has a minute CD, but it'll spawn over here. If I turn again, it'll spawn over here. So great way to do it if you're in combat. Let's say I'm fighting this pack here, okay, we're Mythic Plus. It's like, oh, trinket's coming up. I'll turn this way, and you can even turn this way while still hitting stuff, right? I'll turn this way, and I'll pop my trinket, which will have it spawn out over here. So that's a great way to make sure you're always picking it up. Now, when you actually want to use it, in Raid and Mythic Plus is before you pull the boss, actually. So the best time to use it if you're in Raid is during the pre-countdown. You actually have 15 seconds to do the trinket, right? To do the little mini game. So you have a lot of time. You can push it. If it's jumps, you can get all the jumps ready. If it's the standing on thing, you can do it 3 times before pull and just use the last one as you go in. Same with in Mythic Plus. You want to try and do it before the pack happens. The best time to trigger it is right after your Eyebeam in single target or right before your first Eyebeam in AoE. So generally speaking, just use it before you get into the pack. Trigger it after your Eyebeam if you can. In Raid, obviously, if you do it outside of boss range, do it whenever's possible, but right after the first Eyebeam is the best time. And for Mythic Plus, just using it like right with that first Eyebeam is when you want to do it. So we'll do one for Raid here. It's coming up. So we're doing like our pre-pull stuff. It's like, okay, we'll use it, comes up here, we'll do a little pre-pull, and we're going in. And I honestly picked it up there just so I could close in right before the Eyebeam, but it doesn't really matter, right? You guys get the general idea. I should have, I did a weird meta thing. Whatever, you get the idea. You want to do it basically as you close in. After that, in AoE, pair it with your meta. In single target, you want to use it on cooldown with the next available Essence Break. So AoE, save it for meta. Single target with the next available Essence Break on cooldown. All right, so the last thing I want to do here, and it's less of a tip, more of just like a general conversation, is just talk about the different talents you can play in Mythic Plus and what they're good for in different situations. The first choice is going to be between Blind Fury and Dancing with Fate. So no matter what you do, you're always going to put 2 points into one of these. kind of need to path down the tree. And the real difference comes to what do you want to do more in a dungeon. Now, overall, it's not gonna be a big difference. It's gonna be like 2% at max, which is like nothing. 2% either way. Blind Fury is going to be more AoE damage and more overall. You'll see a higher overall damage, but one thing with dungeons is overall doesn't always mean better, right? Now, overall looks good on meters if you're like trying to details pad, but it doesn't always mean you're going to time a key faster. But it is more AoE damage, and it's very, very good with Fel Barrage with some synergy there. Dancing with Fate, on the other hand, is a lot more single target damage, where Blind Fury is AoE and only deals damage in your cooldowns, because that's when you have Eyebeam. Dancing with Fate is that consistent damage option and also does a lot more single target. Again, a lot here being 2%. So if you want more consistent pack-to-pack damage and more single target, maybe you're playing a really big AoE blaster comp and you need some single target. I don't know why you're playing Havoc for that, but Dancing with Fate would be that option. Or if you want to just do AoE damage, Blind Fury is there too. Blind Fury also feels pretty good for those burst windows. That's that choice there. Again, they're both pretty good. Final one comes down to 3 options here: Glaive Tempest, Inner Demon, and Fel Barrage. Now, generally speaking, all of these will give you pretty similar overalls, just going to depend on how you do your damage. Glaive Tempest is the most consistent option. However, it does interfere with our rotation a bit and does get in the way of us just pushing Chaos Strike to get some resets from our tier set. But this is a really consistent damage option. You'll have pack-to-pack damage, which honestly I felt has been like pretty good when I use it. Just having damage for every pack feels pretty nice. And it's a pretty strong button. It does get in the way. We don't want to use it in Demon form. We have such a long burst opener with all of our Felscard stuff, so it gets kind of pushed out of the rotation there, but still a pretty strong option. Inner Demon is the best single target option if you want to do more single target damage again with your Dancing of Fate. This also is the easiest to do because you're just doing your rotation naturally. It's not an extra button, just nice stuff there. And this is a nice damage amp to our burst as well. Not as much as maybe Fel Barrage, the next one we're going to talk about, but every 40 seconds / every meta, you'll get an extra little burst of damage. When you buff it up with something like Student of Suffering with Inertia, it will end up doing a pretty sizable amount. Again, they're all pretty similar overall. Inner Demon is the easiest to play, doesn't interfere with our rotation at all, and is just a nice, comfortable pick. And finally, Fel Barrage is the new kid on the block, new, so to speak, that people started playing with recently. What this does is really amplify your 2-minute burst window. If you are pulling around meta, or if you're, in a group where you can talk to your tank and not just pugging, and you tell your tank, hey, let's, I got CDs, let's pull big, Fel Barrage will absolutely crank, especially if you have Transmitter to pair with it, because Transmitter just gives you so much agility. Saving this for your meta window allows you to do crazy high meta burst damage in that window. There's also cases where you can use this as a separate cooldown for other packs. Should you end up needing to hold meta for a different pack, you can pop Fel Barrage as like a smaller burst damage window to get through a hard pack. That also works. It's going to be less like big burst damage, but it can help you with smaller packs. So there's a lot more for coordinated groups or groups where you're pulling big around your meta. It doesn't do literally anything outside of your meta, doesn't do anything outside of Eyebeam. It is only in your burst, so it doesn't bring up your damage outside of that, but it does make those peaks you have much higher. So all of these options I just talked about are going to be very good. It's going to be preference, going to be what you want. Fel Barrage, though, I would take with Blind Fury. Don't take it with Dancing with Fate. Just there you go. So all these are good options. I figured I did a video on kind of these, but I figured I'd just go through, succinctly tell you which is which and what each is for. So there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed. That is kind of my video today on just talking about, tips for improving as a Havoc Demon Hunter, giving you guys some utilities and some knowledge about how to play Havoc, kind of in Mythic Plus, but also a little bit of raid stuff there as well. I have a few of these. They're a bit outdated now, but I've done them a few times now. So hope you guys enjoyed. Next video will probably be an Eldrazi Reaver guide, unless we get rework. We're not gonna. It's been over a year now, but it is what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed anyways, and I just want to thank everybody for helping the channel grow. Crazy we're here. It's still a weird feeling, but you guys are all awesome and you're great. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Questions, comments, concerns, comment it down below, and peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you to Zooligan, rpalms46, Fear Redefined, Justin Penny, Callum Price, Gabrielle Correa, Magicman 133, Falafador and Dark Terror, Sky Elk, and Brad Wisniak. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel a little bit, consider becoming a channel member down below. And just thanks for watching the videos, everybody. Even if you don't become a channel member, you're still supporting me. So thanks, everybody. See you guys next time. Peace.